Hello guys, I'm here at the book At Your Command, sharing with you a quick lesson from this chapter. So in this video I'm going to share a quick practice before going into the meditation process. It's not much of a big deal, but it's very helpful for those that cannot enter meditation correctly, for those that cannot feel at peace when they meditate. I know that feeling because I experienced myself how stressful it is to awake in the middle of a meditation process, shaking and having shortness of breath, or problems with going deep into meditation. So I think this is very helpful when it comes to that problem. So for everything that happens in our lives, we spend much time blaming others, and holding to that blame is quietly shaping our experiences more than we realize. And Neville suggests that before you meditate or imagine the life that you truly want, there is one simple but powerful practice that can completely change how your mind and emotions work. Why is this practice so important, and how does it connect to the way life actually responds to us? I'm going to explain it in this short video. And understanding this can free your mind and emotions and make your imagination far more effective than you ever thought possible. So consciousness being God, if you hold in consciousness anything against men, you are binding that condition in your world. But to release men from all condemnation is to free yourself so that you may rise to any level necessary. There is therefore no condemnation to those in Christ Jesus. So first, free yourself. You need to free yourself by releasing people from blame and stop condemning them. That freedom lets you rise to a higher state of being and experience better things. When Neville says if you hold in consciousness anything against men, you are binding that condition in your world. That means if you keep condemning someone in your thoughts, you actually chain yourself to the same negativity. So the more you think they hurt me, they are guilty, or I will never forgive them, the more your mind and emotions stay locked in pain and resentment. So you replay the situations over and over, which strengthens the feeling inside you. Even if the other person moves on, you remain stuck because your consciousness is repeating the story. This is the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness means choosing not to keep feeding the pain in your own mind. So the moment you release them, you are lighter inside, and now your consciousness is open to move upward, to imagine better experiences, better relationships, and better states of being. And here it comes the main lesson to this chapter. So therefore, a very good practice before you enter into your meditation is first to free every man in the world from blame. For law is never violated, and you can rest confidently in the knowledge that every man's conception of himself is going to be his reward. So before you sit down to meditate or imagine, it's very important to clean your heart and mind from the feeling of blaming others. Because when you carry blame, anger, resentment, or thoughts of revenge, your attention is stuck on what they did or what they should have done differently. That means your energy and your focus are stuck in the past and in other people's actions. So meditation and imagination are about creating something new. They are about entering a state where you feel free, peaceful, and powerful. So before you sit down to meditate or imagine, it's important to let go of the habit of blaming other people. Instead of carrying judgment or the thought that he did this to me or they are guilty, you should release all of them mentally. Why this matters is because blame is not just an opinion, it's an emotional attachment. When you blame someone, your mind is keeping them alive inside you in a negative way. So your thoughts keep returning to what they did, how unfair it was, how they should have behaved differently. And doing this does two things. It keeps your attention trapped in the past, so your brain replays the situation almost like a movie on repeat, instead of focusing on the future you want to create. So you are feeding your mind with the old memories. And second, it keeps your emotions in a state of anger, sadness, or resentment. So when you blame, your nervous system stays on alert, so your body produces stress responses, faster heartbeat, tension, frustration. So even if you're trying to meditate, your inner world is unsettled. So if you go into meditation with blame in your heart, your subconscious mind is still filled with negative energy. And this makes it harder to imagine a peaceful, happy, and new reality. This is why freeing others help you. So letting go of blame is not about saying the other person was right or good. It's about freeing yourself completely from being psychologically tied to their actions. So when you blame, you are actually keeping yourself chained to that person. But when you are letting them live in your mind, your emotions become dependent on what they did or they didn't do. But when you consciously say to yourself, I release them from blame, they acted from their own state of mind, you are actually cutting them out emotionally, and this creates space in your mind to focus on the things that you want, not on what they did. This is why Neville calls it a good practice, because freeing others from blame is like cleaning your emotional space before entering meditation. So if your mind is filled with resentment, meditation will only recycle those feelings, but if you deliberately release blame, you create an inner state of peace and emotional openness. And that peace makes your imagination stronger, because your subconscious mind can accept new ideas without being blocked by old negative emotions. So blame will keep you emotionally locked to the past and to other people's behavior. It drains your mental energy and shapes your inner state in a negative way. So freeing people from blame is not about saying what they did was fine. It's about releasing yourself completely, all from dealing with them mentally. And when you let go, you create emotional freedom, and with that freedom, your meditation and imagination become far more powerful. And the law is never violated. This means that the rule is absolute. It's the same and is constantly working for everyone. There are no exceptions. You might sometimes feel like life is unfair, or that people get things they do not deserve, or that bad people succeed while good people suffer. But Neville is saying that even if it doesn't look that way on the surface, underneath, the law of assumption is always working, so no one can escape their self-concept. You can pretend, you can act differently for a while, but sooner or later, your behavior, your emotions and choices will line up with how you really see yourself inside, and that alignment creates your reality. For example, for someone who secretly believes I am unworthy of love, they may enter a relationship, but eventually their insecurity shows up in their behavior, jealousy, fear, pushing their partner away, and the relationships confirms their belief, and something will happen to bring their beliefs into reality. So you don't need to be anxious, worried, or doubtful about whether life will respond to you. You can stay and relax because the law is reliable. You have to trust the law of cause and effect. Just as a person who repeatedly tells themselves negative things will eventually feel and act negatively, a person who constantly assumes positive states will eventually feel and act differently. It is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. And this gives you an emotional relief, because instead of stressing over whether their imagination works or not, they can rest. They can know that the law never skips anyone. It doesn't require luck, timing, or someone else's permission. It only requires the inner shift in their self-concept. So the way you see yourself, your self-concept, is always rewarded by life. So reward doesn't mean punishment or prize in the usual sense. It means life mirrors it back, so whatever self-image that you hold, the world will confirm it. And this matches what we know about the law. If you expect failure, you unconsciously act in ways that create failure. And if you expect success, you unconsciously act in the ways that create success. So if you assume I am unlucky, your brain notices and remembers unlucky events while ignoring positive ones. And if you assume I'm lucky, your brain brings such situations. So the reward of your self-concept is not a gift handed down from outside. It's the inevitable reflection of your inner belief system. So you do not have to bother yourself about seeing whether or not man gets what you consider he should get. For life makes no mistake and always gives man that which man first gives himself. And this brings us to that much abused statement of the Bible on tithing. Teachers of all kinds have enslaved man with this affair of tithing, for not themselves understanding the nature of tithing and being themselves fearful of lack. They have led their followers to believe that a 10th part of their income should be given to the Lord. Meaning, as they make very clear that when one gives a 10th part of his income to their particular organization, he is giving his 10th part to the Lord, otherwise known as tithing. So this means you do not need to spend mental energy judging other people, worrying about whether they are being treated fairly, or deciding if life is giving them what they deserve. Everyone's reality already matches their inner assumptions. So when we judge others, what really happens is that we project our own values and emotions onto them. We think he was rude, so he should fail. But when we think this way, we actually trap ourselves in negative emotions like anger, resentment, or superiority. And that drains our mental energy and keeps us stuck in the same state. So you do not need to play the judge, because each person's life is already shaped by their self-concept. If someone assumes I'm unlucky, the life will reflect that. If someone assumes I'm strong and capable, the life will reflect that too. So whether or not someone gets what they deserve is not our business. It is already taken care of by the law of consciousness, and this will free you. Instead of carrying the heavy burden of judging others, you can use that energy to focus on your own state. You can let go of the anger or desire for revenge, because you realize that their reality is already matching their inner world. This can be very challenging at first because it forces us to take responsibility for our inner state. But it is also empowering. It means that you do not have to wait for someone else to give you recognition or love or success. All you do is you give it to yourself first by assuming it, and then life will give it back. So life will never get it wrong. If you feel you are lacking something, it's because you haven't yet given it to yourself in your inner assumptions. And if you want change, you do not fight the outside world. What you have to do is you shift the way you see yourself. So life doesn't make mistakes. The law doesn't fail. It may seem so, but it doesn't. And this should free you to be better at meditating and fully living the state that you want to outpicture in your reality. So every day before you go into meditation, you practice this. You let go and release everyone from blame, everyone that hurt you, or you're jealous of them, or whatever, and you will see how much power will come back to you that you will need for creating your own reality. And this will shift your attention away from others and back to where your true power is, that is within you. And then you can enter meditation with a clean and calm state of mind, and that is ready to impress your subconscious mind with new beliefs about who you are and what you have. So guys, let them go, release them, and free yourself. You need to practice this daily, and you will see that you will become very, very powerful.